Hey everybody, welcome back. This is part 28 of the processing tutorial. So last lesson we got this going here. We got the guy, and the guy now has a spray can. And the spray can is going to spray pesticides, and he is going to be able to kill the ants. So it sounds horrible and all because ants are awesome creatures, but we're still going to do it. So the way we did this was over here, we just loaded a whole new sprite sheet. And in this sprite sheet, we had the guy, the professor, holding the spray can. And we use this variable here, has sprayer, which I set to true initially, and these if statements down here to switch between the two sprite sheets. So if the guy has the sprayer, we're going to use the sprayer sprite sheet. If the guy doesn't have the sprayer, we use the regular movement sprite sheet. So it's pretty easy. We just are switching back and forth. You could have named these different things if you wanted. You could have modified this sprite sheet however you want. So right now, what I want to do though is I want to get him actually drawing the spray whenever I press the space bar. Okay, so we need, as the guy's running, to put a spray in front of him depending on which direction he's going. And this is kind of difficult actually because it's going to require us to do a lot of different things. We're going to need to keep track of the number of sprays we've drawn, and we're going to need to fade out the sprays and different things like that. In addition, when I draw these sprays, you're going to notice that different directions, like if I'm facing upwards, we want the spray to draw behind the guy, but if I'm facing downwards, we're going to want the spray to draw in front of him. And these are some small things that we'll get to later on, but for now, we're just going to get a single spray being drawn to the screen. So to do that, I'm going to create a new class, and I'm going to call this class spray. So I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to call this spray. And inside spray, of course, I'm going to need a location for the spray. And I'm going to create another variable called current duration. And this variable is going to be used to keep track of how long the spray has actually existed. So I'm gonna just make it pretty much as increment at the moment, but later on I might change it. So I'm making it a float, even though an integer for right now would actually be acceptable. The last one I'm gonna make is maximum duration. Okay, so this is pretty simple. Max duration is going to be how long this spray can actually last. And we're going to set all of these in the constructor here. So I'm going to set spray, float x, and float y. This is going to let us pass in the location of our guy whenever I hit the button to spray. So when I spray something, I want the spray to draw at a location relative to where the guy is, either in front of him or behind him or wherever. So each time I create a new spray object, I'm going to need to be able to send in those variables. So pretty easy. I'm just going to set these. This x is equal to x, and this dot y is equal to y. And then I'm going to go ahead and set my max duration at first. Max duration is going to be equal to 100, which if you take a look back here, my frame rate is 60. So if we're going to fade out the spray is only going to last a little more than a little more than a second, a little less than 2 seconds. If I set it to 120, well, hopefully, depending on how fast the application is actually running, we'll get about 2 seconds. So I'll just set it to 100 here. You can set it to whatever you want, and you can play with it, of course, later on. So I'm going to set current duration equal to 1. Now there's a reason I'm doing this is because we're going to use this current duration in part of a division problem, and I don't want to end up with a division error if I set it to 0 to start with. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do in here then is I'm going to create this other method, draw the spray. And with draw the spray, I'm going to need an alpha value. Now, the alpha value is the value that the spray is going to currently have on the screen. So as it fades out, the alpha value is going to change. And the alpha value is going to be set as follows. So it's going to be current duration, oops. Okay, so the current duration divided by the max duration times 150. Okay. So what this is as this value is going up, now this current duration, as it gets bigger each time I go through this loop, because at the very end here I'm going to do current duration plus plus. So as this gets bigger and bigger, if closer to the max duration, times 150. So the alpha value is at 150, meaning that the largest alpha value is 150. And as this goes up, okay, this makes it more and more transparent. Okay, so I hope you understand this. Is if I have 1 out of 100, that means I get 1% of 150. So I have 1.5, and that would be the alpha value is 1.5. And then as current duration goes up, it increases this until I get to the current duration equaling the maximum duration. So this becomes 100 over 100 times 150 or 150. All right. Now, what I'm going to use here is fill. So I'm going to say, actually, let's first do this. No stroke. This is a method I haven't used yet. And no stroke is when you don't want to draw an outline on a figure. So I'm drawing an ellipse, but I don't want the ellipse to have that black line or the border around the outside. So I'm going to use no stroke in order to take that off. Then I'm going to use fill. And this fill is a little bit different than when we're used to because I'm adding one more parameter. So what I'm actually doing is as this goes up, this value goes down until there's no more, this is 0, and then the object is transparent. So the object is starting as partially transparent because the gas is going to be partially transparent. Then as time goes on, the gas will disappear until this value goes to 0 and it's gone. All right, and this color value here, it's going to go away eventually because we're going to swap out drawing an ellipse for actually drawing an object, a PNG file, a graphic file. But for now, we're just going to stick with drawing the ellipse because it makes this a little more simple. Okay, so now I have x and y, and I say 40 minus current duration divided by 5, and this will be the same thing here, 40 minus current duration divided by 5. So what am I doing over here then? Well, this right here, I'm going to space that out. This right here is going to decrease the size of the ellipse until it's gone. So essentially it's fading out and it's shrinking. The gas cloud is going to get smaller and the gas cloud will shrink. Okay, so it shrinks, becomes more transparent, and it looks a lot better that way. Okay, so that is really all I need right now in order to draw a spray. So let's draw the spray, and let's go back to here and let's test this out. Oh, I'm sorry, let's go back to here. Back to our main file, and let's do a spray, and then I'm going to set in here spray is equal to new spray, and let's just set it at the center of the screen. Let's set it at 100 and 100 first. Okay. Now I'm setting it at 100 and 100, and then I'm going to draw it in here. So I'm going to say spray dot draw spray, and this is only going to appear for a few seconds, well, really less than 2 seconds. So we need to watch quickly. So let's run, and there it goes. So let me run it one more time. You're going to see it at the 100 mark, and there goes the spray. So it doesn't look too bad, but what we need to do now is we actually need to get this being drawn where the character is. So this I'm going to delete from setup. That was just to test if things were working. And I need to somehow down here set it. So I'm going to do, the first thing I'm going to do is if keys spacebar. So that means if I'm hitting spacebar, because this is just a blank space in here, then I need to actually do something. So what I need to do is I need to create the spray in a specific location. So I'm going to say spray equals new spray. And what I need in here is I need the player's current location. So I need wherever the player is. So I can technically do player.x and player.y, and this will actually work. Now I can come back in here, and I am going to put spray.draw spray in here. Okay. So let's see what that does here. So right now I've created an object, and I've declared the object up here. I've initialized it only when I hit the spacebar, and then it's going to be at the player's x and y location. So you remember, player has these two variables x and y, and it's going to, when I hit spacebar, it's going to create this new spray object, and then it's going to do everything in here. Now, the problem that's going to happen is I'm going to keep calling draw spray, and this is going to keep trying to do a calculation in here. So eventually this calculation in here will be invalid. So what I need to do is I need to, only if current duration is less than max duration, do I want to do anything inside here. Okay. So if it's not, then I don't want to do it. And later we're going to take this out, but for right now we need that because these calculations, if current duration keeps going, eventually will be invalid. Alright, so let's go ahead and run this. And oh, I do need to initialize it up here. So let's do spray equals new spray. And let's set this off the screen initially. So we create one off the screen, and then we'll recreate it down here. Alright, so one's off the screen. Now if I run around, everything's normal. Now if I hit the spray button, which in our case is spacebar, you notice that it does create a spray, but it creates it at the top left of our character, which is actually where our player's X and Y is located. So we have a problem. Another problem you'll notice is if I hit spacebar once and run, and I keep hitting spacebar, it doesn't leave the old gas cloud behind. The gas cloud kind of redraws itself. And that's because we only have one gas cloud here. What we need now is a way to store all of our gas clouds and loop through them and continue to draw them however we want. So this is a little more tricky, and it's going to require a whole nother class, which I will get to in the next tutorial. So let's take a quick look at what we did here. We created this spray class, which is quite simple. It just draws spray and that's it. Then back here we created a spray object, and I drew the first one off the screen so it doesn't appear when we start the program. We draw it, and then when I hit spacebar, it creates a new spray. But it actually erases the old spray when it does that. So in the next lesson, we're going to create a little thing that keeps track of this spray animation, and let's just draw multiple sprays to the screen. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next lesson.